At TheNBI.com, this is John. This report is for the 19th of August, and we just moved right down to the 76%. Um, yeah, continuation of the collapse of magenta below 33 and under yellow. Not a huge activation of white, but once the NBI red dipped below green, the acceleration was going to continue now with red below white. Really adds to it, but we also dipped extreme below the red line. So already, the equivalent of, extreme selling pressure from within that. Still not much of a big deal because even from our 50K chart we'll look at later, it's just we're filling back some positive extremes, nothing too dramatic. What we'll be looking for is magenta pivot, and once that takes place, if it does, and shorts remain under this 10 level, we're 750 right now. It's just a matter now. Of course, the Nasdaq was already weaker, at 76, so it drops to the 61%. Ooh la la. It's a dramatic move for some, but relative to the big up move that we had in the continuation, is just a slow sideways nothing, and it's climbing that wall of fear. But the fear is starting to increase now. You're seeing more and more concerns about credit, rising bond rates. Fed's not done anything yet, but they're probably almost going to be forced to raise rates. You see no end in sight for the soft inflation push, meaning that oil and that isn't going down anytime soon here, and just keeping it in this range, even here, just keeps prices elevated, and so you're not going to see any deflationary effect, which was, I think, something that people were hoping for, that you would get a resolution, you would see a dip down into the negative side for oil, and then that would cause an economic boom. But now the stresses that have been put on there are just going to retain themselves, and that's going to probably stick now through midterms unless something special happens, because now they've converted to the war of attrition, and you can see the same thing that it's ironic because this is the whole thing that they were claiming they were going to do to Russia via Ukraine, and now it's exactly the opposite. And this is super exciting for the euro from that standpoint, which defies logic in a broad sense. They just think that the U.S. is done for, and this is sort of that anti-Trump trade. But the irony of that is as U.S. increases rates, it's actually still more attractive than being in a euro because the ECB certainly isn't doing that, and there isn't really any growth taking place in the EU zone. So, you know. Uh, these are those directional kind of moves. It's no different than the yen collapse, things like that. It goes back and forth. You just play the signals, and the signal's been long. So, I mean, regardless of the reasons, you got to trade what is. Same with gold. So once we can see the turnaround move, it is what it is. You can come up with any justifications or reasons not. Doesn't make any difference. We just follow what is, and those are the readings. So it is the situation. Now, Bitcoin was doing well and kind of maybe stalled here a little bit. Magenta pivot under 25, never good. Um, this is the second time we've kind of moved back underneath that 25 with the NBI Magenta. Now it's got to dip below the yellow in this particular case, but look at that. I mean, that's just a constriction here. When we get those Morganacci lines so tight, I mean, this is just a straight line. There really isn't a whole lot. You're either going to, have some kind of influx or people are just going to capitulate. At this particular stage, though, I just don't think anyone wants to let go or do anything pretty much with it, and sort of retaining everything where it's at. So the lows that we've got, they take us all the way over to here. What was the low that we had the post market so far? 76.99 range. So if we get that all the way up, right about there, we can see that we filled in positive extremes all the way to there, but you still would have to go, all the way down here to the 76.55 range for it to even finish filling. So the potential for that to continue is still there. From a 50K standpoint, though, your MBI white, you were already at the zero, so it really didn't make any difference. It was just an opportunity to sell any pop. The way you do that is a dip of MBI red. You go ahead and buy that. Then when it spikes, you short the spike, dips again, and you rinse and repeat. Just basically, the most you could do yesterday was just play within the 0 to 23. I mean, there was literally just sideways action. Started off nice because we had the continuation move, and you were down big, but from that point, look at what happens here. Even on a 5K, this range was just narrow. You couldn't even go from 0 to 100%, or even from 100% back down to zero. It was mostly just 0 to 50%, 50% back to zero. You got slightly above 50%, but back to zero. And that was pretty much the extent of the day. And now we've finally got above 50%. We'll see if we hit the 100 here. Pivoting right now, it's going to be tough. It's going to have to get a little boost, or you're going to have to see 100% dip down in time to capture that, because you've already past your closure point. Magenta, well, if we go down to the DOC, you had the orange dip, so that was your buy. And then once orange gets back above, you expect to see cyan dipping below green, and it did that in this case. So you have continuation, but now it's right at the closure point. So this has got to finish by hitting that, or your pop has ended. Oops, that was not 5K. So that's the long and the short of it for now. And nothing too dramatic, I don't think. I think we're all still in line. I think all the fear is known. It's just a question of, does something break? Do we get a value reading or something that really tilts it one way? We already know the AI trade is a credit bubble that's just waiting to burst, and the question is, when is it realized? When do they, start weeding, out the weak hands here? And will there be enough time for, your Anthropic and them to chat to make it public before things start to really get ugly? Because the amount of debt that all of them are, acquiring and just cycling amongst each other. Now you got NVIDIA begging banks to loan to these partners because they're not willing to put the money out, and they've already done that. You've already seen Oracle get themselves into a debt crunch within the AI trade, and if that starts to expand and people realize there just isn't enough revenue to cover some of this expense, yeah, it's a problem. Otherwise, you're going to completely replace what AI is. But China's really thwarting this in an interesting way by throwing in so many free options that is going to make it tough. So we'll keep following it. I think it's interesting. We can even see part of that is in the SpaceX trade. It moved well up above its IPO range, but then right back into the neutral zone with it. So yeah, it's interesting. So we'll keep following it. Anyway, that's the long and the short of it. Anything relevant, I would certainly put on the team chat. This hasn't been anything super exciting yet. Trade well.